Good evening, everyone. This is a special edition of Green White Checker with Jordan Farrell. I'm broadcasting this live from Darlington. Well, technically Florence, that's where I'm staying. About 12 minutes away from Darlington Raceway, but just want to do a special edition tonight just for the Xfinity Series race and my coverage of Jeremy Clements. So glad to be down here for Labor Day weekend. Labor Day weekend here at Darlington Raceway is just a big racing tradition. It's unlike any other. It's awesome to be down here for this, to experience one of the crown jewel events in NASCAR, just to be able to let y'all know what's going on down here. So it's exciting, and I'm excited about the Cup race tomorrow. But let's touch on what happened in the Xfinity race. Mouthful of a name of it. The SportClips Haircuts VFW Help a Hero 200. I'm not going to say that again because it would take up way too much recording time, but there you go. But it was a stacked field for this race. We talked about all season long how the Xfinity Series has probably the most stacked field of drivers they've seen in a long time. You got a lot of guys that are trying to rebuild their careers, guys like Cole Custer, etc. And you got a lot of veterans that are like career Xfinity Series guys that are still pretty talented that are in the field. You've got any number of Cup Series regulars that come down, or as we used to call them back in the day, the bushwhackers. Matter of fact, this race had 4 incredibly good bushwhackers in it here. You had Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, and Ross Chastain all ran in this event today. Then you have all these younger drivers that are super talented that are trying to work their way up to maybe getting a Cup Series ride as well. You think about John Hunter Nemechek, guys that pretty much been dominating all season long. And with this big of a field for the race, it was bound to be chaotic in only the way that Darlington, the track that is too tough to tame, could bring. So it definitely lived up to that chaotic reputation with how the race went down today. Let's touch on Jeremy Clements real quick, what happened today with the number 51 Booze Pops Chevrolet. Jeremy didn't really carry a whole lot of speed today, didn't qualify very well. He was the 16th fastest in practice, and he, in his initial qualifying run, qualified 7th, but ended up being bumped all the way back down to 26th. So he started the race on row 13, and from the get-go, he actually had a good little bit of speed. He picked up 4 positions over the first 5 laps of the race, got up to 22nd, and then it kind of started to go downhill for him there. He had some handling issues. His car was loose. And over his radio, he was talking about how the back end of the car just felt like it wasn't underneath him on corner exit. And that was something that kind of caused him to drop back a little bit. The opening stage went on. It just basically became a driving clinic here over the first 2 stages there, as John Hunter Nemechek took the lead in the early going. And it's almost like he didn't really look back. I mean, to pull from his last name, check, he checked out. He went to an advantage as big as 0.8 of a second over Denny Hamlin. Then late in the first stage, Josh Williams blew a right front tire, tore his fender completely off, brought out the second caution of the race, and that ended the first stage. John Hunter Nemechek picks up the win there in the first stage. Jeremy Clements works his way up to 19th, even though he's had the handling issues. Under the stage break, Jeremy comes in, and they opted to take 4 tires and fuel and make a slight wedge adjustment and air pressure adjustment, but the stop just took a little unusually long. In fact, Jeremy's luck on pit road today was just awful. He had 2 really bad stops. Both of them were like 20 to 25 seconds. I don't know the exact timing on them, but I asked Jeremy after the race what might have caused that, and he did say that there were a couple of new guys there on the crew this week that had kind of been moved around a little bit. He didn't know exactly what was going on as far as the adjustments that were made, so he couldn't say for sure if the adjustments were what was causing the slow stops. But he did have a couple of new guys on this crew that was probably a big contributing factor this week for the 51 team. But he had a 20-something second long pit stop, lost 3 spots on pit road. Then on the second stage, comes back out, and it goes green at lap 50. John Hunter Nemechek dominates the second stage again. Built up a lead as big as about a second in this one, and he ended up sweeping the stages, both first and second stage in this race. Interesting point that happened there halfway through the first stage. You had a really weird caution where Anthony Alfredo kind of cut across the nose of Sam Mayer. Ended up kind of brushing the wall there. He came down to the apron of the track, slowed down, but it really didn't look like that he had had enough damage, or he didn't look like he was leaking any fluid. He didn't look like he was really putting any debris or anything down that would endanger anybody. And so the NASCAR decided to throw the caution on this, and it just seemed like it wasn't a big enough incident necessarily to really merit a caution, as he was able to keep going. He did have to go in the damaged vehicle policy clock, He did manage to get back up and meet the minimum speed, so he continued on in the race ultimately. But it was just a very strange caution that kind of threw the second stage out of whack a little bit there. But by the end of stage 2 at lap 90, John Hunter Nemechek caught the tail end of the field. Jeremy Clements kind of used up his tires a little bit trying to pick back the 19th spot, and he ended up falling back to 23rd, and that's where he finished stage 2. Here we go again, stage break caution. He comes in, and you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. In Jeremy's case, I even told him this after the race, and he agreed with me. If it weren't for bad luck, you wouldn't have any luck at all. And that basically is a summary of the season for the 51 team. It happened yet again here. Again, he had another 20-something second long pit stop. But really the worst of his luck came there halfway through the third stage, lap 102. Just a big racing incident where Jeremy found himself in the wrong place at the wrong time. Kyle Sieg kind of got together with Brett Moffitt, and Jeremy kind of got up into Kyle Sieg after all of that. It spun both of them out, tore the right front fender on Jeremy's car up, had to come down pit road, get some bare bond, flattened all 4 of his tires, so he had to change tires there as well. So Jeremy goes a lap down because of all the repairs there on pit road. Didn't help his case that he also stalled while he was there on that stop getting repaired, but they got him back out there. He was a lap down. He restarted 31st, and he was the first car a lap down, so he was in position to get the free pass if a caution came out again, and he got that break. He had a very timely caution where I believe it was Ryan Sieg who spun out there coming out of turn 4. And again, Jeremy was running back in 31st during the caution. He gets the free pass, and then they decide to use that opportunity to come down to pit road. With the free pass, he gets to the tail end of the longest line. He's in 18th position, so they pit from there. And when they did, he came down. He took 4 tires and fuel, but while he was on pit road, they were having a little bit of a time trying to determine which tires they wanted to put on the car. It was actually frustrating Mark Setzer a good little bit. He used a lot of language that I'm not going to repeat, but they got the right side tires on, but in order to avoid losing that lap again, Jeremy had to go back out, so he had to pit twice. Because he ended up having to pit twice, once again, he started at the back. He was on the lead lap, but he restarted in the back. But all in all, Jeremy ended up, because there was a late caution with a green-white checker, the Parker Kligerman spun out there at the exit to turn 4 with 4 to go, and that set up the opportunity for Denny Hamlin to win the race. Really, when Jeremy and Kyle Sieg had that wreck together, that opened up an interesting strategy play that really kind of made the decision of this race. Again, John Hunter Nemechek had dominated the entire thing up to this point. John Hunter and a lot of the leaders came down pit road during that caution. 9 drivers stayed out, and pretty much all 9 of them still finished in the top 10. Among them, Austin Hill. Austin Hill actually took the lead there with 36 to go, but then he was overtaken by Denny Hamlin with 20 to go. Denny ended up leading the rest of the way, plus the green-white checker. Denny Hamlin, by the way, picks up his 6th win at Darlington Raceway in the Xfinity Series, his 18th career Xfinity Series win. And with this, Denny Hamlin was asked in the post-race press conference how special Darlington is, and he just basically answered with, well, this is my P1 track. It's his best track, or he considers it one of his best, if at that, but it would be hard to disagree with that. Denny Hamlin's got a great track record there at Darlington. He's won there plenty of times in both the Xfinity and Cup Series, and he's definitely a candidate to possibly win there tomorrow night. Now, he did say that this doesn't necessarily do anything for tomorrow night because the Cup car and the Xfinity car, no secret here, are way different. So the Cup car is going to handle a lot differently than the Xfinity Series car did. So at best, Denny says that maybe this bolsters a little bit of personal confidence and that he might can win. Denny is starting on the front row tomorrow night in the Cup race, but it's not necessarily something that he feels is going to translate over into him sweeping the weekend. But he definitely has a very good shot at that happening tomorrow night in the Cookout Southern 500 there at Darlington. First round of the Cup Series playoffs. We'll see if he can get the automatic bid into the round of 12. But just another rough day for Jeremy Clements today. He ends up salvaging a 21st place finish there on the lead lap, something that, all things considered, he will take, given how the day has gone, really how the season has gone for the 51 team. So they will put it all together again next week with the regular season finale for the Xfinity Series at Kansas. Kansas Lottery 300. Again, there will be 12 drivers in the field that will have a chance to play or race for the championship for the Xfinity Series after next week. It'd be interesting to see how it all unfolds.